Sharing your personal life with the wrong people doesn't create connection. It creates exposure, and exposure can hurt. You know, we live in a culture that tells us to be open, share everything, be an open book. Social media teaches us to put our whole lives online, every celebration, every heartbreak, every meal. And while there's nothing wrong with being transparent, there's a profound difference between sharing for connection and oversharing for validation. I've learned this the hard way, and maybe you have too. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Not everyone has earned the right to hear your story. If you're not in the arena getting your butt kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback. The same applies to who you allow into your personal life. If someone hasn't earned the right, they shouldn't be carrying your most intimate truths. So let's talk about the wisdom in keeping parts of our lives sacred, private, and protected. Here are 9 reasons you shouldn't share your personal life with just anyone. Not everyone has good intentions. One of the hardest truths we face as humans is realizing that not everyone who smiles at us is rooting for us. Some people aren't in our lives to lift us up. They're there out of curiosity, envy, or even a quiet desire to see us stumble. When you share your personal life with the wrong people, you give them power. Power to twist your words, power to gossip about you, power to use your vulnerabilities as a weapon when it suits them. Our stories are sacred. They're not casual conversation material for people who haven't earned the right to hold them with care. And when we forget this, we risk handing over the most tender parts of ourselves to people who see them as entertainment instead of a gift. I often tell people this: pay attention to how others respond when you share even something small. Do they lean in with empathy, or do their eyes light up with curiosity, waiting for more details they can later repeat to someone else? That reaction tells you everything you need to know. Protecting yourself doesn't mean you're distrusting. It means you're wise. It means you know the difference between a safe person and a shallow one. And wisdom says, don't give your heart to someone who treats it like gossip fuel. Your energy is sacred every time you share a part of yourself, your struggles, your dreams, fears. You're not just giving away information. You're giving away energy, and energy is not infinite. It's sacred, it's limited, and it has to be managed with intention. Think of it like this. Imagine you have a small bowl of water in your hands. That water represents your emotional energy. Pour it out recklessly, telling everyone your plans, your worries, your personal struggles. You'll quickly run dry, and the painful part, not everyone who receives that water will value it. Some will spill it, some will waste it, and some won't even notice you handed it over. Energy to people who don't honor it. You end up feeling exhausted, unseen, and sometimes even ashamed for sharing in the first place. And that shame doesn't come from the act of sharing. It comes from sharing in the wrong place with the wrong people. Oversharing, it's about emotional risk with people who have earned the right to hear your story. When you practice that, you protect your energy. You keep it for the people who will water your roots instead of draining your well. So here's the truth. Your energy is too valuable to waste on wrong ears. Choose wisely, share intentionally, protect the sacred parts of yourself, because not everyone deserves access to that level of you. Privacy builds power. There's a quiet strength in privacy. We live in a world where oversharing is normal. People post every milestone, every hardship, detail of their lives online. But here's what I've learned. The less people know, the more powerful you become. Why? Because information is influence. When others don't know your every move, they can't use it against you. They can't predict your decisions. They can't manipulate your fears, sabotage your dreams. Privacy gives you control over your own narrative. Think of it like a seed planted deep in the soil. If you dig it up every day to show everyone what's happening beneath the ground, it will never grow. But if you keep it covered, protected, nurtured, away from curious, careless eyes, it develops roots, it gains strength. It eventually breaks through the soil as something unshakable. That's what privacy does for you. That vulnerability is about sharing with discernment, not exposure without boundaries. Privacy is not secrecy, it's wisdom. It's choosing to let people see the fruit of your growth, not handing them the roots before they're strong enough to survive. So when you keep certain parts of your life private, you're not withholding, you're building. You're allowing your strength, your ideas, silence until they're ready to stand on their own. Privacy isn't about hiding. Privacy is about power, the kind that can't be shaken because it was built away from the noise. Oversharing invites judgment. Here's the hard truth. The more you put out into the world, the more people feel and have an opinion about your life. Oversharing doesn't create more connection. It often creates more judgment. We've all done it. Maybe you told someone about a dream you had, and instead of encouragement, they told you it wasn't realistic. Or maybe you confided in someone about a struggle, responded with criticism instead of compassion. That sting you felt, that's the cost of sharing with the wrong audience. Oversharing doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're craving connection. But here's the difference. True connection is built in safe spaces. Empathy, not judgment. When you overshare, you're not opening the door to intimacy. You're opening the door to people projecting their insecurities onto you. Without boundaries, vulnerability becomes exposure, and exposure invites judgment. That judgment can shrink you, make you second, guess your worth, and sometimes even silence you. So here's the lesson. Not every story needs to be told in every room. Not every detail of your life deserves public access. Protect your heart by remembering this. Story, you limit who has the power to judge you unfairly. Sharing less doesn't make you closed off. It makes you wise. It means you know the difference between someone who will hold your story with love and someone who will hold it against you. Your healing requires safe space when we're hurting. When life feels heavy and complicated, our first instinct is often to reach out. We want to talk, to unload, to be heard. That's a very human response. But here's where we sometimes go wrong. We share our pain with people who are not safe spaces. Healing is delicate work. Broken bone, if you keep moving it around, showing it to everyone, letting people poke at it, it won't heal properly. It'll take longer, it'll hurt more, and sometimes it'll heal in the wrong way altogether. The truth is, not everyone can hold space for your healing. Some people want the details of your struggles out of curiosity, not compassion. Others might unintentionally pile on advice, opinions, or comparisons that leave you feeling worse instead of better. And some might even use your vulnerability as a reminder of their own power over you. Deserve to be shared with people who have earned the right to hear them. When you're in the middle of healing, you don't need chaos. You don't need judgment. You don't need comparison. What you need is stillness, gentleness, and people who can sit with you without trying to fix you. It's where your pain can exist without being dissected or dismissed. It's where you can be raw without being ridiculed. And until you find that kind of space, silence is sometimes the most loving gift you can give yourself. Healing isn't about isolation. It's about intentional protection. Protect the space where your heart is mending. Not everyone deserves access to your wounds. Trust must be earned. One of the greatest mistakes we make is believing that trust should be given freely. Out of kindness, out of hope, out of the desire to connect. Parts of ourselves without first asking, has this person earned it? Trust is not automatic. It's not something you give away just because someone is nice to you, or because you've known them for years, or because they say the right things. Trust is built slowly like a wall made of bricks. Each brick represents consistency, care, and respect. And if someone hasn't laid those bricks, they don't deserve access to your inner world. That trust is built in small moments. When someone keeps your confidence, when they show up, when they say they will. Boundaries. These little actions add up. And over time they tell you, yes, this is a safe person. Yes, I can share with them, but when you share your personal life without that foundation, you're not being vulnerable, you're being exposed, and exposure without trust can leave you hurt, betrayed, or even humiliated. It's not cynical to withhold trust, it's wise, it's self-respect. You wouldn't hand the keys to your home to a stranger. Why would you hand the keys to your heart to someone who hasn't earned it? So let this be your guide. Trust is a privilege, not a right. And the people who truly care about you will never rush that process. They will be patient, consistent, and willing to earn their place in your story. Boundaries protect relationships. We often think of boundaries as walls, something that keeps people out. But in reality, boundaries are bridges. They're what make healthy connection possible. Without boundaries, relationships collapse under the weight of unmet expectations and unspoken resentment. Here's the truth: if you share too much of your personal life without boundaries, you invite problems. Maybe you tell a friend every detail of your struggles, and suddenly they feel overwhelmed or responsible for fixing you. Coworker about your private life, and then wonder why it becomes office gossip. That's not connection. That's the consequence of not drawing a line. Boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They're about teaching people how to love you, respect you, and interact with you in ways that keep both of you healthy. That the most compassionate people she's ever met are also the most boundaried. Why? Because when you set clear limits, you don't carry bitterness. You don't build silent resentment. You simply create a space where love and respect can thrive. When you hold back certain parts of your personal life, you're not hiding. You're honoring the relationship. You're saying, this is how close we can be without hurting each other. This is what I'm willing to share, and this is what I need to keep for myself. Boundaries actually protect the very relationships you value. They allow you to show up authentically without feeling exposed, drained, or betrayed. And when both people respect those boundaries, the relationship becomes stronger, not weaker. So remember, boundaries are not barriers. They're a form of love for yourself and for others. Freedom from comparison. Comparison is one of the quickest ways to rob yourself of joy. And often, comparison sneaks in through the doors we leave wide open when we share much of our personal lives. When people know every detail about you, what you're working on, what you're struggling with, what you hope for, they start comparing, sometimes silently, sometimes out loud. They measure your journey against theirs, or worse, they measure you against the version of yourself they think you should be. And let's be honest, most of us already wrestle with comparison in our own minds. We don't need anyone else adding weight to that battle. The more you share, the more you invite outside voices into a story that's supposed to be yours. When we believe there's not enough success, love, or happiness to go around, we start measuring ourselves against each other. But when you keep certain parts of your life private, you protect yourself, create space to grow on your own terms without the constant mirror of someone else's expectations. Think about it like this: if a seed is planted, and every day the gardener digs it up to compare it to the flowers already blooming, that seed never has a chance. The freedom to grow at your own pace, the freedom to stumble without an audience, the freedom to succeed without being put on a measuring scale. So if you want to be free from the trap of comparison, stop giving people the material they need to measure you. Let your story unfold in private, and let your victories speak for themselves when they're ready. Some things are just yours in a world that constantly pressures us to share more. It's easy to forget that not everything in your life needs to be public, explained, or validated. Some parts of your life are meant to stay yours. That doesn't make you secretive, it makes you whole. We all have sacred spaces inside us, memories, dreams, quiet struggles, tender hopes that are too delicate to hand over to the world. When you choose to keep those parts private, you're not withholding love or connection, self-respect. You're saying, this part of me doesn't need anyone's approval. It belongs only to me. Think about the most meaningful moments of your life. Maybe it was a late-night conversation that shifted everything. Maybe it was a victory no one else saw, or a battle you fought silently and won. Those moments often feel the most powerful precisely because they were yours alone. They didn't need applause. They didn't need validation. They just needed to exist. Vulnerability without boundaries is not vulnerability. It's desperation. And boundaries mean sometimes drawing a line between what you share and what you protect. The truth is, you don't have to narrate every chapter of your story for it to matter. Some chapters are written for your eyes only. So give yourself permission to hold back. Give yourself permission to let some things stay sacred. You'll discover that the most authentic parts of you don't need to be displayed to be real. They simply need to be honored. and sometimes honoring them means keeping them just yours. So here's the truth. Your personal life is not a stage, it's a sanctuary. Every part of your story does not need an audience. Every wound does not need to be displayed. Every dream does not need to be explained. Protecting your life doesn't make you distant. It makes you wise. It means you've learned that intimacy belongs in safe places with people who have earned the right to hear your truth. And maybe the most important reminder of all, privacy is not secrecy. Privacy is dignity, it's power, it's self-respect. So the next time you feel pressured to share, pause, ask yourself, has this person earned the right to hold my story? Will sharing this bring me closer to healing, or will it drain me? Answer is no. Choose silence, choose privacy, choose yourself, because some things in life are too precious, too sacred, and too valuable to be handed over to just anyone. And when you honor that truth, you don't just protect your story, you protect your peace.